Welcome to another episode in Reading and Writing Skills. Today's lesson is all about critical reading as reasoning. At the end of our lesson, you must be able to explain critical reading as reasoning. Second, formulate evaluative statements about a text to read. And third, you must determine textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about the text read. We learned already in reading and writing skills that as a 21st century learners, we should read critically. And today, we will definitely integrate this concept again in our lesson. According to the website skillsuni.com, reading critically does not necessarily mean being critical of what you read. Both reading and thinking don't mean being critical about some idea, some argument, or any piece of writing, claiming that it is something or somehow faulty or flawed. As a critical reader, there are two objectives that we need to accomplish. First thing, we must determine what is the author trying to say. And second, we should also get the main argument being presented by the writer. As a critical reader, we must understand, assess, and evaluate the given text for us to determine if it is effective. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, reasoning is an act of giving statements for justification and explanation. It is the ability of someone to defend something by giving out reasons. You know what? Every day, we tend to give our reasons or justifications about something or someone. Just like in developing your skills in writing, reading, communication, mathematical, computation, and so on, as a learner, you should also develop your reasoning skills. Evidently, we use them to make choices among possible options. And aside from that, we distinguish between positive and negative situations. And behind that, there are so many reasons. Moreover, in reasoning, it is also, in some instances, we decide how to approach a problem and resolve it. And, of course, many more. But what about if we are going to integrate or connect the concept of reasoning to critical reading? What does it mean? It means it is a more active way of reading. It is deeper and more complex engagement with a text. Critical reading as reasoning also teaches the reader how to not blindly accept everything that is presented, most especially some of the details like facts or opinions without further examination. We should really consider the two sides of the coin. Okay? So as we read critically, we must evaluate it first before accepting what is being given. Now, class, I want you to ask yourself, do you believe all the things you have seen on TikTok? Now, perhaps some of you will say yes. Some of you will admit that nope, we don't believe about the things that we have seen on TikTok. And actually, this question is subjective. That's why I pretty assume that we have different answers. The question a while ago is connected with the next concept that we'll be dealing with. And this is all about formulating evaluative statements about a text read. Class, when we say formulate, it is synonymous to the word construct, compose, write, make, and so on. Since we are trying to evaluate or assess a certain statement, we should read them or read it critically. And with that, we will be dealing as well with on how to formulate assertion. Assertion is a stylistic approach or technique involving a strong declaration, a forceful or confident and positive statement regarding a belief or a fact. Often, it is without proof or any support. Perhaps some of you will say that it is somehow synonymous with the concept of claim. But you know what, class? Disclaimer that assertion is one step ahead to the concept of claim. There are some similarities, however, there's a big difference talaga between claim and assertion. Okay? An assertion, it is composed typically by a simple declarative sentence that claims something is true about something else. These sentences may either be statements of truths or opinions. Just like claim, we all know that it is in a form as well of a declarative sentence. It is not a question, it is a statement. If claims have different types, also in assertion we do have, and there are 4 types of it. First of all, we have statement of fact. This is a statement that can be proven objectively by direct experience, testimonies of witnesses, verified observations, or the results of research. Like for example, the Sampaguita's roots are used for medicinal purposes, such as anesthetic and sedative. So this one is an example of statement of fact since this study is in according with the verified or validated observations happened. Okay? And I know that some of you are familiar already with this concept since we mentioned it last time. The second type of assertion is statement of opinion. Opinions are based on facts but are difficult to objectively verify because of the uncertainty of producing satisfactory proofs of soundness. Although the opinion is based on facts still, it is not yet totally verified. For example, the popularity of Sampaguita flowers is most evident in places of worship. We cannot generalize that everybody or like every religion, no, uses Sampaguita as part of their worship. If I'm not mistaken, and as far as I know, only Roman Catholic, no, uses Sampaguita as part of their worship. That's why this one we cannot consider as a statement of fact because we cannot generalize everyone that they are definitely using Sampaguita as part of their worship. That's it. Now, the third type of assertion is another than statement of convention. From the word itself, convention, that means it reflects to the traditions that we have, the norms, even the historical precedent, historical accounts, laws, rules, usage, and customs. Like for example, the Sampaguita belongs to the genus Jasminum of the family Oleaceae. So this one, I think it's also a trivia, no? And this detail is definitely based on the historical account of Sampaguita. As we all know, there's a branch of science, no, who deals with, I think, more on flowers or plants and so on. So this one is an example of statement of convention. And the last type of assertion is what we call statement of preference. Statement of preference are based, or statement of preferences are based on personal choice. Of course, that's your preference or your preferred, right? So it's your choice, it's your option, it's your taste, no? Therefore, they are subjective and cannot be objectively proven or logically attacked. This one is this one has varieties since we're talking about being subjective, no? For example, this statement is a preference because it says a lot about the type of flowers that the writer likes. Instead of saying objectively comparing the qualities of sampaguitas to that of other flowers. Remember, we do have preferences and we cannot force someone or everyone, no, to have same preference that we have. Now class, I want you to reflect again by simply answering this question. Do you spend time researching before you say a word about a certain topic? Or are you a kind of person or a type of person who just blurts or like exclaims no out words without thinking? What do you think? Next part of our discussion is all about formulating counterclaim. A counterclaim is a statement that contradicts the claim. They provide a contrasting perspective to the main argument and made to rebut a previous claim. It is like you are opposing someone's viewpoint. You are blocking someone's idea because you already have that certain belief that this one is better than the other ideas out there. So you're trying to give a counter attack so that you will definitely win or like get that argument. That's counterclaim. And it answers the question, what are the other or what are the credible possibilities? Okay, so that's it. Just like in flip-top, no, when you do rebut, that's what we call counterclaim. Also in a debate, when you give a reply about the previous statement given by your opponent, then that's a counterclaim. Here are the guide questions which will help you to formulate a counterclaim. You may simply answer the following questions. First, what are the major points on which you and the author can disagree? Second, what is the strongest argument? What did they say to defend their position? Third, what are the merits of their view? Fourth, am I right? Fourth, what are the weaknesses or shortcomings in their argument? Fifth, are there any hidden assumptions? And sixth, which lines from the text or let's say speech best support the counterclaim you have formulated? Okay, that's it. Once again, class, remember, no, when you give your counterclaim, do not give merits. Do not give merits to the other side of the argument. Make sure na you will be able to stick with your stand and you must be able to provide enough proof or let's say evidences to back up your argument. Okay? And of course, anticipate. You must learn as well to anticipate what would be the possible questions that they will definitely throw to you. And you may simply look as well for their, let's say, weakness of their argument. And then throw questions that will definitely challenge them. We are done defining what is our counterclaim. Might as well the guide questions in formulating a counterclaim. Now let's proceed to the steps in writing one of it. Step 1, begin your counterclaim by the following phrases. No, actually this one is what we call the introductory part of your counterclaim. And few lamang ito, class. You may also, I think, look for the other phrases that will help you to begin effectively your counterclaim. Few of them, we have, many people believe that, it is often thought that, or it might seem as if, while it is common. Okay, that's step 1. It is very important, class, not to provide a good introductory part for your argument. Step 2, ways to transition from the opposite side back to your opinion. You may simply use the following phrases. What this argument fails to consider is, this view sounds convincing at first, but Although the core claim is valid, it suffers from the flaw in its. And in step 3, you're just going to combine step 1, 2, and of course, indicate your counterclaim. I think in the middle, no? You may simply write your counterclaim, use one of the sentence starters in step 1. Remember not to use transition words back to your opinion, and use one of the sentences starters in step 2. You may simply proofread your final output no before giving it or like throwing it to the opponent or whoever you are expecting na to send that counterclaim. So class, let me just give you a full example of a counterclaim. It is often thought that social studies is the favorite academic class for junior high school students. However, what this argument fails to consider is that science allows for more hands-on activities. For example, when studying amphibians, you get to dissect a frog rather than just read about an event from the past. In this example of a counterclaim, it's important that you're just going to recall the previous, let's say, argument of your opponent. Right after that, use transition word and then give your counterclaim, your rebut, no? And of course, do not forget to indicate backed up claims or like backed up info which will strengthen the whole counterclaim. Make sure to indicate, I think, relevant examples, even scenarios, related studies, so that you will develop better the whole output of your counterclaim. That's it. And here's my last question. What is the important thing that you need to have first before believing in something? Though I think this one is a bit easy to answer. However, we tend to forget, no? Because sometimes many of us are swayed by someone or something. We tend to believe right away, even though there's no proof, let's say evidence, or I think valid explanation or justification about something. But yeah, I hope, I think from now on, you'll definitely be wiser than yesterday. Our last lesson is all about determining textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about a text read. Of course, since we already know how to give reason and integrate it in critical reading, we learned already the different types of assertion and what is assertion really. Now, we are going to learn how to validate or like to check if a certain evidence in a text is effective, accurate, and let's say this one is highly recommended. If this one is highly recommended, that we need to follow. When we say textual evidence, class, it is the information that we collated or gathered from the text that support one's assertions or counterclaims about the text. It deals with the facts in writing and the strategies used to figure out whether or not the information is factual. Okay. In addition, textual evidence comes into play when an author presents a position or thesis and uses evidence to support the claims. In expressing your judgment about the text, first you need to state your own idea about the given text, of course. Most of the students, they tend to get or like link the other ideas coming from somewhere. Most especially, they retrieved it on a certain website, which is definitely not good because you are hindering yourself in giving or providing your own idea. As much as possible, indicate your own idea, not the idea of other people or person. Second, determine evidence from the text. Look for clues and keywords that support your idea about the text. Make sure, class, naman, when you put evidences within your paper, make sure that first, it is directly connected. Second, this one is reliable. And third, should be valid in a way that it is verified by, let's say, professionals, no? Like that. To make sure that the things that you're going to cite within your paper should have relativity. Okay? Number 3, quote or paraphrase the part of the text that help you come up with your idea. Later, I'll be discussing a little bit more about number 3 statement here. Number 4, use quotation marks to quote a part of the text. Okay? If it is from a book, indicate the page number at the end of your sentence. Perhaps you already have an idea about this one since when you were in junior high school. I think you learned so many things about card catalog, or let's say when to indicate a title card or author card. No? When we indicate author card, there's a certain pattern wherein we need to place first yung surname ni author and then yung kanyang initial ng first name niya or ng name niya, initial, and then year, kailan na-publish, and so on and so forth. And actually, there are different ways naman on how to do that. You may simply recall the given lessons from that. And lastly, express how the quote supports your idea. Some students, they tend to indicate quotation and then that's it. That's the quotation. Perhaps they were saying na this one is a good quotation. So feeling ko if I'm going to indicate it sa aking paper, magiging good din yung aking paper. But no. Remember, class, when you indicate any quotation or any statement, make sure naman na you can explain and you can really give the connection of that quotation to the main idea of your paper. Learn to elaborate it. Not just copying the given quotation or statement or whatever. Make sure to explain, to justify why it is needed not to be placed dyan sa paper mo and so on. Now, let's have the different types of textual evidence. Since we are talking about citing evidences, there are many ways on how to cite evidences, and there are 4 types. First is what we call referencing. It is an act of mentioning a specific section of the text, like an event or action. The second type is what we call paraphrasing. From the word itself, you're just going to paraphrase or simply restate or reword an author, someone else's work using your own words without eliminating or like deleting or discarding the original idea from the text. You have the right, to absorb that idea. However, make sure that you're going to reword that one or restate so that you will not engage with academic dishonesty or what we call plagiarism. Okay? Next, we have summarizing. One of so many ways on how to condense a text. And it's part also in citation or like citing evidences. Summarizing is all about stating the essential ideas together of the text in a shorter way. So, you're just going to focus more on the essential parts or the important details. Okay? So, you're just going to, I think, eliminate some details that aren't helpful already sa given texts. More on important details lang yung focus mo dyan. And the last type of textual evidence is quoting. It is about stating a part of a text in the exact way it was written. Since you're going to state it in the exact way, do not forget to indicate quotation mark for that one. Remember, the power of punctuation marks matter. It's why, as you quote a certain, let's say, statement of someone, make sure to put or indicate as well its quotation mark. And that's it for our lesson today. I hope you learned something. Um, Regarding your performance test, I'll be posting some of the details in our Google Classroom. You have group task activity, which I will post the instruction on your Google Classroom. And for your individual task, here it is. You are going to choose one claim. Then, after that, explain your stand, your opinion, or even your insight. Yeah. Either of the three, whether you agree or disagree. And don't forget, class, to employ or to apply assertion and counterclaims. Don't forget as well to cite textual evidence online or find the book for reference to support your statement. It must be in essay format, class. You may use a Google document for this one or Microsoft Word. And here are the following topics. I'm just going to choose one. Number one, excessive television viewing has caused a steady decline in the reading ability of children and teenagers. Number two, people make less mistakes as they grow older. And number three, human activity is responsible for the earth rapidly warming. And you will be graded according to the following criteria. Content, 10 points, creativity, 10 points, and organization, 10 points, total of 30 points. Once again, class, for your individual performance task, you may simply place it in a Microsoft Word or Google document. This one, I think the other details will be posted as well in our Google Classroom. Be ready for your quiz on Friday. That will be all. Thanks for watching. See you in my next one. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more lessons to learn. Bye!